Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Make a Good Mega Man Level Contest 2, or Magmal 2 for short. During the last part, I completed 4 levels in Tier 2, so in this part, I'll be completing Tier 2. But before that, let's go talk with the NPCs that are here. Oh hello Clown Man from Mega Man 8. And yes, just like the balloons in the main festival grounds, you can pop them, and apparently the NPCs will have different responses too. Alas, it's time to move on to the final level of this tier. In 67th place is Something Original by IcyTower, with a score of 19.8. But judging by the scoring, it isn't that original, so let's get right to it. Oh, and between this and the previous part, I switched up my control setup, so now I'm using a controller again. Hopefully it won't result in some issues because I wasn't able to set my slide button to my preferred one. Also because the game doesn't actually remember what gamepad controls I set it to, so hopefully it'll work out well enough for me. Well, thanks for the advice, IcyTower. So hopefully it won't be too difficult. After all, it only has one exit and no energy elements. Getting stuck over there against this. I'll just wait over here instead of trying to rush it. Especially because I keep getting knocked back into bad areas. Sorry if I'm a bit fumbling around a bit, this is a new control scheme for me. Oh good, we have the lanternfish again, and the shrimp. Nothing too difficult so far. And now we have the croakers and M422As, or whatever they're called. I need to regenerate some health, so I'll use the grab buster a bit. Oh, wow, I see a proton rain over there. Well, I guess there's nowhere else to go other than down. Hello there, whatever that enemy type is supposed to be. Hold on 1 second. There we go, I had to reconfigure quickly some of my windows. Nothing bad so far. Well, I guess we need to pick one of these ladders upwards and see which one's the best one. Okay, I got it right the first time, it was the center one. This stage so far has been relatively bland, and outside of my mistakes in the first part of the stage, it's been relatively straightforward. I don't know why we needed that ladder, we could have just used our Mega Buster and reached it from here. Oh, I see the spikes over there. Make sure to slide so you make it across. I guess we need to fall down here. You wouldn't usually expect to have to fall down here, though. Thankfully, the triple blade makes minced meat out of these giant foes. Again, I keep mixing up my Mega Maker controls and Magmal 2 controls. It'll take a short while for me to stop fumbling around a bit. Like I said, my Magmal 2 controls, it doesn't allow me to use the same control scheme as I do in Mega Maker, unfortunately. And because I can't disable the gamepad, I can't really reset the controls using something like X-Patter or Joy-to-Key. Those would be really helpful. Let's see... I think Rush Jet will be the one here. Although I don't really need it now that I think about it. We seem to be transitioning between completely different level segments and different level environments, having new challenges. Oh neat, now we have the Rabots. Nothing too bad so far. Now we have a little bit of a challenge here. If this was Mega Maker, I would have bonked my head against the ceiling and this would be a lot harder for a jump. But here, it's not that bad. Especially because it seems like the ceiling hitboxes are disabled if they're off screen or in a different section. Well, this boss fight's really easy. Especially because we can just stand here and keep firing on it. If anything, this stage is really on the easy side, as you can see here. There is not that much challenge at all. A little bit of precise jumping over here. We just have a mixture of all different sorts of gimmicks all over the place, and it doesn't feel like there's cohesiveness. It just feels like we're remixing several stage gimmicks together. Well, I guess it makes sense that the wheel cutter is best against the wheel type enemies. It just saws right through them. Oh, and of course we have the moles. What else would there be? Wait a minute, can I regenerate some health this way? Well, my Mega Buster can one-shot them, so I'm gonna spend a short amount of time here until I can regenerate some health. Of course, they seem to randomly go wherever they want to please, so I'll just slide down here. Okay then, now we suddenly transition to Gutsman's team for some reason. Oh, neat, now we have the Gutsman platform segment. Jump too high over there. Let's try doing it this way. Wow, this Gutsman platform segment was a lot easier than I expected it to be. I expected there to be some holes in the lift tracks. That's why I relied on just using the super arrow. Gutsman? What happened to you? I knew I was gonna die over there, but this seems to be like a custom version of Gutsman, especially with a different texture. Every time we switch between this and the previous screen, we seem to be going between Gutsman's team and Cutman's team for some reason. Okay then. Well, I don't want to risk dying anymore, so I'll just use Rush Jet and circumvent the challenge. If there's one comment about the stage I'm seeing so far, it's that each gimmick room or section is disconnected from the previous one, and it feels like the stage difficulty is about the same. Gimmicks are shown, and then they're thrown out. I don't feel like the stage is cohesive at all. Anyways, it's time to fight Gutsman's new attire or something. If my predictions are correct, he should also be weak against the Sakugarne, if that wasn't changed. But instead, because this is a custom boss fight, even though it's just a palette swap, I'll still fight him normally. Even though it doesn't look like a different boss fight at all, he fights the same way as Gutsman usually does, even though there's a boulder blocking the middle of the path, making his fight easier. And Pyro spells it out here, the stage is really just bland. It's a cool concept of having different level segments with their own unique gimmicks, but it didn't really come together at the end, it just felt like an uncohesive mess or romp. And the stage is really flat too. Apparently those were the SNES logos. It does feel kind of like a retrospective of the more memorable sections of the first few classic titles, although it was made a lot easier. It was pleasant, sure, but it just felt boring. It just felt primitive and boring and not cohesive. I've said enough about this stage, so that's it. And the stage's name is a lie, of course. It's nothing original, it's ironic, it's nothing original. As usual, if you want to see the comments in full, pause and unpause the video. Why hello there, Dynamo Man. I don't know how he found his place in life here. I thought he lived in a generator stage. Well, we're up against the Tier 2 boss. So let's see what it has to offer. A businessman? When you think about sewer, you think of a sewer-based roadmaster like Pump Man, or Bubble Man, or some sort of water-based roadmaster. But a businessman? That's really contrasting, or really unexpected. And this is Ombudsman from Mega Man 42, one of my least favorite Mega Man fan games, although that title has been won over by another Mega Man fan game. Yeah, this sewer has been rather disgusting anyway. Anyway, time to fight Ombudsman, whose pattern has definitely been changed from Mega Man 42. He still maintains usage of the paper slash as you can see over here, but now he can throw stuff like printers that can fire papers at you, and drops those stones from the ceiling too. Whoa, he can also teleport. I didn't expect that to happen. Ow. His random stopping pattern can get a little bit annoying though. And dodging the printer can be a bit problematic too. Well, that was easier than I expected it to be. I didn't need to use any of my E-tanks, thankfully. Wow, you can get by this boss fight in just 8 seconds alone. I guess if you're more skilled, of course, and actually uses special weapons. I still see mentions of altar runs. When I get back to this stage, I'll need to double check what an altar run is supposed to be used for. I guess it's a post-game thing. Let's get out of here. Who are you? Gordon Freeman? Okay, we have an odd remix of Galaxy Man's team combined with something else, some acapella. And by talking with Mr. Freeman again, we stopped the team. Okay then. Wow, and the song keeps on playing even if we exit the hub world, or exit that room. Well, we completed Tier 2, so let's get out of here. We collected all 13 of the energy elements and all 6 noble nickels. Now, as usual, before I go to the next tier, I'm going to be paying a visit to Dr. Light's lab. Okay. And then I'm going to talk with all the NPCs. First though, I'm going to go back to Dr. Light's lab and purchase a certain upgrade. Because I already know in advance how difficult some of the stages in Tier 3 are going to be, so I really want to get the Skull Amulet. Hopefully it behaves as I think it's going to be. I wish if we press the exit button right in the hub world, we'd be taken back to Dr. Light's lab. That would be super helpful. Let's go back to Beat's shop. We have 454 bolts. So let's see here. There it is, the Skull Amulet. If you are dealt a fatal blow by an enemy while having more than 1 health, you will be left with 1 health instead of dying. So it's like Undershirt, but I wonder if it'll also work on spikes. That would be super helpful. So I will definitely purchase that one. Drop rate increase. I'm gonna get the Uncharged Buster upgrade because that's gonna be super helpful for a lot of areas. I wonder if there's another upgrade that can actually remove the end shot limit for all special weapons. That would be super useful. So let's get out of here. So as you can see here, I can now fire an indefinite number of buster shots. Well, I guess 1 per frame until the game crashes. Maybe I'll write up a script so I can fire 1 buster shot per frame. That would be very neat to have. Pretty fun to try out too. Maybe in another part. So let's talk with some of the other people. Let's see if our NPCs have something else to say. I don't get what game this is coming from. I do know that Mega Man did use 2 Mega Busters together to do a double charge shot in Super Adventure Rockman. Oh, let me see if there's any new costumes available. Nope, no new costumes yet. We only have about 5 costumes, sadly. So let's get out of here. I spent all my bolts on getting other stuff, more important stuff, personally. Wait a minute, can we talk with that? Oh, so this is an invisible cloak. I guess when we re-enter and exit the screen, we show off new costumes that you can unlock. That looks more like Link's costume to me. I wonder what some of these costumes are referencing. I believe they all reference something. And yes, Mars does have treads. Ah, who are you? Yes, the wire adapter is a rather useful weapon. In fact, this area is one application of the wire adapter, like popping the balloons. If I can do it correctly. Wow, we can actually latch on to the invisible ceiling here. I didn't expect that to happen. I will get back to the dojo once I complete the main game. Don't worry, I'll go to Tier 3 very soon. Let me just talk with some of the people. Oh, hello there. Some of the citizens seem to be randomly mixed around, it seems. I don't need to revisit the chateau just yet, of course. I think Ombudsman is now there, but, well, there's no reason to visit it just yet, and I don't have 10 noble nickels yet. McWiley's. Tier 7 was one of the tiers in Flashman 85's stream, which I completely skipped over, unfortunately. But it's clever to say McWiley's. I guess this is the city district, and Tier 6, 7, and 8 take place all in large buildings. Penguin guy. Ah, a grand tower. I wonder if we're gonna unlock something here once we collect enough energy elements and or noble nickels. Yep, that's Tier 10. We will get there. We will get to Tier 10 eventually. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to end the LP until I at least finish the main game and the Wily stages. I will try finishing the arena, but judging by the number of attempts that I had at going at the arena back at Magma 1, well, it's gonna take a while. Oh, and by the way, Tier 9 seems to take place right over here. Right in the main festival grounds, too. In fact, Tier 9 is the main festival grounds. So I'm gonna pass by right here, but I won't be going here, and I won't be playing any of the levels until a few parts later. A dozen parts later, at least. And yes, it's directly left of Dr. Light's lab, too, which makes it even more odd. I probably should be talking with the rest of the NPCs once I actually visit Tier 9. That seems the most appropriate. And this is the entrance of Tier 10. I will be back here in about 20 parts or so. So let's get back to Dr. Light's lab. Well, we explored as much of the hub world as we could outside of the cafe. So enough with that, it's time to visit Tier 3, which is home to another bunch of really frustrating and really difficult levels. Mostly for not the best of reasons, of course. So into the forest we go, with 9 energy elements and 19 noble nickels. We're finally getting stages with a lot of noble nickels. So down we go. I thought that would be ground. I thought that was a hole. You can turn yourself into a vehicle, Turbo Man. Alright, first up in Tier 3 is, in 66th place, Chomp Man by mabskmk with a score of 20.4. Oh boy, this is one of those infamous stages that I remember distinctly from Flashman 85's stream. You'll see soon enough why. It has 1 energy element and 5 noble nickels. And we started with a skip teleporter. That's not a good sign. This is another one of those skippable levels. And you'll see soon enough why. I had a good reason for purchasing that upgrade as well. The uncharged buster upgrade, as well as the undershirt. I'll call it undershirt instead of skull amulet because I played a lot more Mega Man Battle Network. I need to take care of the walking bombs first. Alright, to get that I need to use a special weapon. This will do. That was really lucky of me. As you may have noticed, this stage is really high on the enemy spam territory. I do like the mix of gimmicks and tile sets and backgrounds, but the enemy spam really kills the stage for me. That's why there's a skip teleporter for that. And you can get jump scared or suddenly surprised by all those Apache Joes. This is one of those stages I believe will take a lot of attempts to do correctly. Oh yeah, another upgrade that was added to this game following version 1.2 is the fact that if you already have collected a noble nickel, instead of never being able to recollect it again, it'll be grayed out. Which is super helpful because now you can collect 20 bolts for every grayed out one. And it seems to actually persist even if you've already collected a noble nickel in the stage. You don't need to completely reset the stage. And I'm going to need a whole bunch of special weapons to get by the stage and survive. I'm gonna preemptively activate Flash Stopper. I still got knocked back in the wrong direction. I thought I was safe there. Oh, good, I dodged it this time after the 4th attempt. But the stage is only gonna get worse and harder from here on out. That's why I'm going to be extensively using special weapons to get by this stage. There's just so many different enemy types used in quick conjunction that's really hard to get by this stage without taking any damage. It's almost mandatory to use special weapons here. Well, at least I have reached the first checkpoint. That's really helpful. And we have a whole bunch of graphics everywhere too. The charge shot upgrade would be extremely helpful here as well, but I don't have enough bolts for it yet. Although at the rate I'm dying everywhere, I'm probably going to get enough bolts very soon. The missiles aren't really helpful with all of this projectile spread. I walked right into that one. You know what, I have so many E-tanks I'm going to start consuming them here. It's a little bit of a waste, but might as well. Hello, Ryder Joe. That's an odd placement of that Tiki enemy. Well, there's our second noble nickel. Before that though, let's take care of this enemy and get knocked over. Thanks, game. Or thanks, level. It's not really the game's fault, it's the level designer's fault for splurging on enemies. Well, because I don't want to repeat the screen, I'm just going to use Flash Stopper, freeze everything, get down here, jump up here, and get across. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you'll have to repeat the screen at least once, I believe. I forgot the enemy can actually fire up there. All of the explosive enemies make it even more problematic because of everything coming from everywhere. I know we have the Contra music in the background, but we don't have as much firepower as Bill Reiser does in Contra. Not with our basic weapon, that is. Now we have this gimmick for some reason. The one with the shifting block spikes. And there's nothing to the right of here, it's just another checkpoint. At least I hope it's another checkpoint room. Magnets. Might as well just use the slash claw and get it over with. I'm hoping that I'm not missing any noble nickels, that would be really bad. I don't want to have to play the stage all over. I already got 2 of them. Oh neat, we have the sheepman blocks again. And these missiles. And the Kamosaburo. I need to activate the yellow sheep blocks. Wow, that was really close over there. Let's get down here. get over to the other side and refill my health. Ow. I'll have to get to the other side and activate it somehow. Oh no, these enemies. Can the wheel cutter deal with this enemy? No, it can't. Oh, I see there. I need to activate it on this side so I can actually hit it properly. Which one do I have to activate first? Ah, I need to activate yellow first, I think. That makes sense. Now, travel back after I kill off this tank enemy, which is really a nuisance. This is my favorite room of the stage because it's a little bit more of a puzzler one. The rest of the rooms, not so much. Even with the enemy spam here, it's not too bad. I say not too bad relatively, it's still pretty bad. And we need to activate this green switch in order to proceed onward with the stage. As you can see here, now we can proceed on to the left. But before that, I'm going to consume an E-tank, just for safety. I really don't want to have to reset this challenge and do it all over again. Now we have to climb upwards. Easier said than done. Especially with all the fans. Thankfully it seems that the ceiling doesn't exist either. So down we go the tube. And now we're in a rain segment. And got ambushed by all those enemies. Because of course. The rain segment was already difficult in Airflow Hubble. It's even more difficult here because of enemy spam. And now we have the Ring boss from Ringman's stage. Honestly, this boss fight wasn't that bad, but this segment coming up, oh boy. This may take a few attempts to get working properly. Mainly because Apache Joe's. That's the reason. I was lucky to dodge it, but the problem with the Apache Joes is that they can easily just lock onto you if you're not in the right position. I was lucky there. And there is a noble nickel down there, adding to the problems. That's how you get it. I'm surprised it got past it so quickly. In fact, I'll just dual satellite this so I can just deflect the shots. Unfortunately, as you can see there, it doesn't deal enough damage. You have to pay attention to where the crash lifts are and dodge these enemies at the same time. What a wonderful combination it is. Not to mention, the rain is blowing us everywhere. Well, at least I got the 4th Noble Nickel, so instead I'll just use Rush Jet and get past this. I wanted to try doing this the legitimate way, but instead I'll just do it slowly. I mean, I'll just do the cheat and get by it this way. Still, it's difficult to do, especially because you can get knocked all over the place. There we go. Now we gotta be careful not to get knocked off from the bottom. And there's the last Noble Nickel. It's the second easiest of this stage, thankfully. You can either damage boost or use other weapons to get by this one. I'm just damage boosting, I don't want to redo that segment all over. That's certainly one of the hardest segments of the stage. Because of the annoying placement of enemies, of course. And that walking bomb got stuck and now despawned for some reason. Let's get up there. And now we've collected all 5 Noble Nickels of this stage. How joyful. I'm just gonna wait for this walker to get out of the way. Please jump. Thank you. And now the last room of the stage. It's a lot easier than what you expect it to be. Because you can just do stuff like this. One of the other bright spots of this stage, the few that do exist actually, is the boss fight against Chomp Man, or rather he should be called Snap Man or Wanan Man. It's a boss with the snapper or Wanan head, and like all the other bosses, or all the other custom bosses, I'm going to be fighting it Buster only. If you get close to Wanan Man, he'll fire his snapper at you, and then he can also dig his snapper into the ground as well, as indicated when the ground shakes, and he'll try snapping at you. And he can throw down bombs as well. He's not that difficult of a boss, and he does have pretty good tells. In fact, he's currently my favorite contestant custom boss fight. You wouldn't expect to have such a good boss fight, or such a decent boss fight, after a stage like this one that was heavily enemy spammy. Oh boy, I'm going to have a field day in editing with this. Quite a few edits required. The main thing that's memorable about this stage is the background, interesting usage of mixture of tile sets and aesthetics, and the enemy spam everywhere, and Apache Joes. That's all I have to say about the stage. Also, the pretty nice boss fight at the end. As usual, if you want to see the judge comments in full, pause and unpause the video. And yes, I don't really see much to the stage of fitting the Chomp Man team. There weren't that many Wanans in the first place, those snappers or chompers. Really, this is enemy spam land. I guess this is a reference to the fact that the judge results were leaked earlier due to a mistake on the judge's part or one of the devs' part. Next up, in 65th place, is SMB Tree by lziardcommando with a score of 21.4. This is the other enemy spammy level. Thankfully it only has one energy element, and judging by the stream results, it's definitely not as bad as Chomp Man was. Far from it, even though it has a skip teleporter. In fact, it actually has custom enemies. Judging by the name, it's based off of Super Mario Bros. 3, but all of the enemies or Mario enemies have been reskinned to work like Mega Man enemies. Like, we already had the Hammer Joes as Picket Man instead. We have the normal Koopalings, we have the Walkers as you can see here. We have whatever these enemies are. Here are the Hammer Joes we had earlier, we have the Picket Man. And we have the Coltons being replaced by the Koopa Riflemen. There are a lot of neat replacements in this stage, that's for sure. Although it seems a little bit off-putting to see the Koopalings off to war. What I mean by off to war, I mean using war-like equipment or guns and ammo that they don't usually use in Mega Man games. I mean, don't usually use in Mario games. Somehow that enemy is flying in midair. Well, they're super weak against my Slash Claw. That's really appreciated. Unfortunately, these walkers are not weak against the... Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Thankfully, unfortunately, those walkers are not weak against the Slash Claw, like most other Sniper Joe enemies are. Down the pipe we go. I do like the remixed usage of the First World or Plains stage theme from Super Mario Bros. 3. Although this stage, as I mentioned, is on the enemy spammy side. Not as bad as Chomp Man though, because we have much more wide open spaces. And it isn't so crazy on enemy usage either. Honestly, this stage doesn't really need a skip teleporter. It wasn't that bad to go through. And in this stage, we actually have a split pathway halfway through to decide how we want to complete this stage. Unfortunately, they don't go to their own alternate exits. They end up in the same place. Choice number 1 on the left is going through a tank battalion, like the tank stages in Super Mario Bros. 3. Or on the right, we can go towards an airship fleet, where it's like the airship stages in Super Mario Bros. 3. So for my first choice, I'll be visiting the tank battalion, which as I just said, is like the tank stages in Super Mario Bros. 3, specifically in Bowser's World. And there are a lot of damaging enemies here. I'm gonna deliberately kill myself over here, so I can better survive the rest of the stage. I will definitely need the health. There's gonna be a lot of enemies here. And just like before, it's gonna be enemy spammy. And also like the tank stages and airships, it's gonna have automatic scrolling as well, so we need to take care of the enemies at a steady pace. Unfortunately, as I just said, for some reason the shielded enemies do not take more damage from the Slash Claw. And just like before, you can get crushed to death as well, if you get caught on the left side of the screen. Thankfully, as you saw in the last one, the Skull Amulet does take its effect eventually. The Skull Amulet only works once per life, I believe. This may also take a few attempts because of how difficult it is. If there's one downside about this stage, it's the fact that shielded enemies don't take more damage from the Wheel Cutter and Slash Claw. But at least they're a lot less durable. As you saw there, that Sniper Joe took 4 points of damage before dying. The only real durable enemies are the Hammer Joes. Or should I say, the Hammer Brothers. The only real durable enemies also other than the Hammer Brothers are those Koopa Joes. I'm really thankful of that. And it seems that the hitbox of these walkers is a little bit higher than you would expect it to be, so that makes it a lot easier as well. Having the charge shot upgrade here would also be super useful, but sadly I don't have it. Still, at least I can fire as many uncharged shots as I can. And thankfully there aren't any Noble Nickels down here, only E-Tanks. I would have to go down the pipe over here if this was Super Mario Bros. 3, but thankfully I don't have to. And there's the exit. Let's get out of here. And this is where we end the stage. Although, I'll first take the other pathway before I fight the boss fight, so see you there. We're back at this fork, so let's take the right fork this time and go towards the Airship Battalion. So let's see how the Airship will be. The Tank Battalion was rather difficult at the start, especially with the enemy spam, but for the second half it wasn't that bad. But now with the Airship stage, we have to worry about falling into bottomless pits. And like before, it's an auto-scroller. And now we're introduced to jet buttons. Oh, nice, we have Apache Joes. They're a lot better utilized here though in comparison to the other stage, thankfully. And now we have the Tomahawk Man platforms too. I'm not gonna risk anything, I'm gonna get knocked off completely. How come I had a lot more knockback compared to before? I guess the auto-scrolling is messing with the amount of knockback I take. I usually wouldn't have that much knockback. And it seems that the number of frame windows that Hammer Brother leaves open for itself is pretty high, too. And the parachute enemies or parachutes are making this even harder because they parachute right in the middle of these Tomahawk platforms. This is easily becoming the harder pathway of the two. If you want the easy route of the stage, take the left one. At least you can use E-Tanks to just tank all the damage. Here you're at constant risk of dying from falling bottomless pits. And we don't have beat either. I just need to edge onto the left side of the platform in order to get by. And make sure not to get knocked into the pit over there. These Picket Men are a lot more tolerable than their classic ones, because they fire less pickets, and, well, they're much less durable. If the normal Picket Men had about 5 or 6 points of health, or 4 like these, they would be a lot more tolerable to fight and a lot less annoying. Oh wow, that was scary. The jet put... I clipped right through it because it decided to move up at the exact same time. Alright, I made it back past that gap this time. I got sniped several times and died in off-screen attempts. That's what makes it a lot more dangerous. Like stuff from these enemies. The problem is, of course, because of the screen scrolling and the fact you don't have enough time to react, well, the screen's not wide enough, you can easily get sniped out of the sky, unfortunately. Well, we're back in this room. There's no secrets here, other than going to fight the boss. And of course, it's Bowser. Although, it's a really nerfed version of Bowser, unfortunately. 3 fireballs. Again, 3 fireballs. Then he tries stomping at you and just shakes the ground, like Gutsman. Strangely, he didn't try stomping me. Now he did. But other than those 2 attacks, he has no other ways of attacking you, which is kind of disappointing. Especially with this stage's build-up. The rest of the stage was a lot harder than this boss fight, so it feels kind of like a letdown. But alas, that's the end of Super Mario Bros. 3. If anything, the left route where you fought the tank battalion was the easier route, whereas the airship one was the hard mode route. At least for the tank battalion, as long as you didn't get caught on the left side of the screen, you could always just spam consuming E-tanks in order to survive. But for the airship stage, you always had the risk of falling into your death, especially because of the amount of knockback. If you want to do the airship stage, I strongly suggest buying the knockback upgrade, so you take reduced amount of knockback. I agree that this was certainly a better stage in comparison to the previous one, Chomp Man stage. That one spammed enemy usage a lot higher than this one. And this one was a lot better because the screen wasn't as constrained, and there was less bottomless pits outside of the airship segment. Even then, it was a lot more tame in comparison, and it used a lot less annoying enemies for the most part. So honestly, I wouldn't give this stage a skip, Teleporter. It's a bit more on the harder side, but it's fine. I'm not sure if this stage is trying to crib off of or ride the popularity train of the really high-ranking Super Mario World level back in Magma 1, which scored in 2nd place, or was it 3rd place. That's why I was dreading this part. Well, not as much as Yggdrasil. This is the enemy spam part with a lot of enemy spam levels back to back. Thankfully, it's over for now, I believe. And we got a lot of bolts in the process from recollecting all of those energy elements. I mean noble nickels. Yeah, what are these tunnels used for anyway? 64th place is MegaLondo by Lamda with a score of 22.4. Let's see what the state has to offer with one exit. I guess this is a reference to New Lamda ruins from Dark Souls, but I never really played Dark Souls, so I can't really verify those claims. And this also has a skip teleporter. That's not a good sign either. Let's take care of these Power Slam enemies. Hopefully it's at least somewhat better than the previous set of stages. Well, I definitely see it's a bit better. There is no enemy spam. A lot more spikes and instant death hazards though. Oh hello Kamusa Burrows. At least they have a number of tops limit. A little bit of a gotcha moment there if you weren't careful. You could have fallen in the spikes. Thank you game, this is definitely taking inspiration from Dark Souls and some of the gotcha moments. So if there's one thing I know about the stage, based off of its inspiration, it's pay attention to everything. While I expect to die a lot on this stage, let's just hope it isn't too jerkish. Now hold right this time. We have a Power Massler. So of course it's weak against the Metal Blade. In general, all really big stomper enemies that are really durable and have high amounts of health are weak against the Triple Blade. Okay, we have hints now. Be wary of Trap, over 9,000. Be wary of Spikes. Apparently, the Skull Amulet doesn't act like a Spike Guard. Okay, I made it past that room. It took a half a dozen attempts. This is one of those stages whose design I really don't like. You already know I don't really like precision maze challenges, and this stage feels like it's full of them. If anything, this is gonna quickly become my least favorite stage out of the park. Even worse than Chomp Man in a way. Because even with Chomp Man, we had the ability to mitigate a lot of the problems, especially with special weapon usage. But here, because of all the tight corridors, even more tight than Chomp Man was, we can't really mitigate it as easily. Especially because of instant death, and I really wish this is one of the stages I had Spike Guard for. Try jumping with a rating of... okay, almost 1 billion. 1 billion minus 1. Okay, we're playing this game now then. Precise spike jumps. Some of the things in Mega Man I really don't like. I somehow got past that room. I know what your trick is here. Hold right so I don't end up falling into spikes. I was expecting there to be a bottomless pit or something. That first challenge took about 6 or 8 attempts, and these are going a lot faster for some reason. I guess I'm being a lot more on the cautious side. Don't give up. Rating of 69. Well, thank you, level creator. Well, I get the feeling that this was supposed to be designed as a harder stage. It's just that I don't like these kinds of challenges in the first place. I don't mind enemy spam as much as precise jumps, that's for sure. And these purple blocks are dissipated by using the flash stopper, of course. It matches the color after all. Once the flash stopper dissipates, the block will become solid again. So it isn't completely destroyed. This will be used to great effect in a much later level. A lot of enemies over there. One of these rooms. I thought I was over the platform, but no. I was a little bit to the right. The checkpoint placement should have been a bit closer to that room. At least it's not too far away, but still. Let's try this room again, shall we? Easy button. I'll take what I can as quickly as possible, and I still get sniped by that enemy. And that's not what I wanted to do. Sure, let's deflect everything at it. Like I said, easy button. Gotta be a little bit careful here so I don't accidentally destroy the ground. I did a bunch of these challenges before in Mega Maker. Although it works a lot better here because it can instantly destroy a lot of these. Oh no, there are actually spikes hidden everywhere too. I really don't want to die, so I'll damage boost everywhere. I have more than enough E-tanks. Really don't like those spike drops here, especially when I don't know when the checkpoint is coming. End of the stage, but of course, another spike drop. Wait a minute. Just need to keep edging closer. I thought I was gonna die at least once there. That's why I used the Count Bomb's explosion to damage boost off of that one. That was a hard stage. It's up there with Yggdrasil as being one of the more death-filled ones. And that Airship segment of SMB3. Let's see what the judges have to say. Well, I never encountered any lag with this stage. If I did, it would become even more frustrating. I understand several of the references to Dark Souls when you died, the messages, the ratings, and the reference to New Lamda ruins, I think. And yes, this was a really stressful stage. Even if it's hard, it shouldn't be at the expense of good Mega Man level design. I get the feeling this was designed for a lot more pro Mega Man players who know how to get by these pixel-perfect collision areas or more precise areas. It wasn't that pixel perfect for the most part. I expressed this same sentiment in several Mega Maker levels, some really challenging challenge levels or Kaizo levels, although this was definitely not a Kaizo level. Yeah, there's just a few surprises, and like I said, this is built for more challenge-oriented players and ones who can quickly react to stuff. It isn't as bad as something like Chomp Man, thankfully. Only one midpoint too? Darn, that's not the best idea. There should be at least 2. But then again, Lamda, from what I've heard, didn't have that much time to play and playtest the level. I mean, create and playtest the level, so it kinda makes sense. With the time he had, I think it's fine. Fine enough, but I just want it to be a little bit easier. And I was lucky I only died once during the second half of the stage. The pole egg room was pretty fun as well. It was utilized as well pretty well in several Mega Maker levels. Boy, this was certainly a 1-hour part. And my favorite level of this part would definitely be Super Mario Bros. 3, even with its enemy spam issues. It was still fun. It wasn't as difficult or frustrating as Chomp Man as well as MegaLondo. So in the next part, I'll delve deeper into Tier 3. Well then, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Toodles!